Hello. Welcome back to Psyched Substance. In today's video, I'm going to talk about something extremely trivial. We are going to discuss the physical component, the mental component, and the practical component that all comes into play when you are trying to overcome, for me, what was, I think, the last boss, addiction. Now, this video is definitely going to ruffle some feathers because we're going to talk on some very trivial topics that a lot of people in the addiction community do not want to look at. They like to fit everybody into this mold, and if you don't fit their mold, it kind of breaks their reality on what they deem is possible. They think that everybody basically needs to fit into a triangle, but have you ever tried fitting a square into a triangle slot? It's just not going to work unless you carve off the sides of that square and literally turn it into a triangle, and I, my friends, am that square. Shitty jokes aside, things like the 12-step, should have been the 13-step where they incorporated LSD program have helped many people. That's actually true. One of the co-founders, Bill Wilson, only overcame his alcohol addiction via the intervention of LSD therapy, and he wanted to include it in the 12-step system, making a 13-step system, and that never came to pass. I just find it so ironic that the founder, one of the founders, only overcame his alcohol addiction thanks to psychedelic therapy. It's like, come on, the practical application of that is in your face, and yet a lot of people in that community deny that there are alternative therapies that can help. So a lot of what I'm going to be discussing is specifically what helped for me. Now, when I sit here and I say I have overcome addiction, it's kind of not 100% true, because there are certain aspects of my addiction that I have definitely overcome, and then there's certain aspects that I have learned to acknowledge, accept, and live through and around. But all of this kind of comes into the package of beating it. But it's not like I have all of a sudden now metamorphosized into a person that could never get addicted to any drug. That's not what I'm saying at all. By overcome addiction, I mean I have realized and learned how to live a happy life where I'm not tied to, say, feeling like every day I've got to be like, okay, so today I'm, I don't know, 70 days clean, and thinking about how I feel like I'm missing out when I look at people who are drinking. There's a lot of ex-addicts who only apply one technique, that being abstinence, who never actually address the underlying core issues that cause them to abuse substances, who spend every day not being healed, but being an ex-addict. And there's a huge difference between being an ex-addict and being healed. Ex-addicts are always identifying with their past pain and trauma, and a lot of them do feel like the potential for slipping up is just around the corner. Being healed, in my opinion, my humble opinion, that many of you are going to take as arrogance, but I'm just extremely confident these days, is that you can heal yourself relatively quickly at that if you apply the right conditioning and steps to getting there, which are going to be unique for every individual person. So all I can really do is speak on what has worked for me, which is what we are going to discuss in this video. So strap yourselves in and get ready for some controversial shit, because you guys all know that I love going against the grain and doing things my own way, which is a different way, which is the basis of the entire YouTube channel, destigmatizing drugs from a guy who by all means should probably not be in that position, because he's a great example of what not to do. My very existence ruffles feathers. So let's get them real nice and ruffled so that that bird can no longer fly. No, that's not what we want. We want the bird to fly, but maybe to view everything from a new perspective. Now, the first thing I want to address is the elephant in the room, or the bulging muscles that are very apparent when you look at me showing off in this Gold's Gym stringer. I would like to point out that I have not moved one addiction to the other in terms of moving one unhealthy thing, such as taking kratom and alcohol daily, into a, let's say, steroid addiction. I am not abusing PEDs. In fact, since I started taking testosterone replacement therapy, I have lowered the dose down to 120 to 140 milligrams a week from initially what I started at 250, which I only did for a couple weeks. That was brought down to 200 until the pimples got out of control. By the way, that's why I'm wearing a hat right now. I've got some pimples that I'm insecure about going on up here. Like, they're healing. That's honestly why I lowered the dose. And I have still been increasing in strength. I push myself to the very limits in the gym. So yeah, I just wanted to make that clear. I'm not abusing any PEDs. I'm taking my doctor prescribed testosterone dose. How long I'm going to stay on TRT, I don't know. To be honest with you, I'm really just doing it to see how at these very safe levels, for me, by the way, my resting heart rate today average is 48 beats a minute. I also get blood work done at these safe levels, how much muscle mass I can accrue. So I just wanted to point that out because I don't want it to visually look like I've moved from, say, abusing kratom and alcohol to steroid use. So what we're going to start off with is talk about first the mental component, which is the most important component. Obviously, I would attribute my body looking so strong to my mind. Strong mind can reflect in a strong body. They are tied together. In fact, you can't work out with the intensity levels that I can without probably testosterone and also without having a very strong mind. That's what differentiates people who see no results in the gym to me. Not to sound arrogant, but I'm getting good results. And I think it's a direct correlation that my body is enhancing at the same level as my mind is gaining more confidence and strength in itself. What I want to touch on is how I moved from being weak-minded to strong-minded in a very short period of time, which is probably the biggest contributing factor to getting clean off kratom. I know a lot of you guys are watching me and you're like, I want to get off kratom. I want to get off smoking weed. I don't want to be dependent on alcohol anymore. And you're looking to me for answers, and I don't have all the answers. I can, again, just tell you what worked for me, and it may not work for you, but maybe by sharing my story, some of you guys can at least be inspired to learn what works for you. I really want to make this clear that I'm not saying this is one size fits all, but there are some attributes of what I've done that you can definitely apply. So the first thing was I had to reach a place of absolute bottom. There's no easy way to say this. My family situation fell into the shitter, as I've discussed before. I basically had to leave the house. I started abusing drugs really heavy for that first month that I was gone because I was just really depressed, and that was all I knew. I had to go through that. That was pivotal, seeing how low I could get to realizing that I wanted to build myself back up stronger. And what I learned was when all of my usual comforts were gone, a loving family was no longer part of my future. It didn't seem like there was any hope to resuscitate that relationship. I'm saying with a smile because I smile when I'm uncomfortable, and it was really hard. So as with most addicts, that just pushed my drug use out of control. And then something clicked, and it was like, to be completely honest with you guys, all of a sudden, it didn't matter how much kratom or alcohol I drank, or nitrous balloons I took, it stopped feeling good. It wasn't just that. Like I was doing stimulants. I did some 3MC like way too many days in a row. Like I was doing some heavy stuff that was zapping my brain of all dopamine. I was shot, man. Like I was at such a low of abusing multiple things. I realized that like if these drugs are not helping me feel better, then what's the point? Like I had to get to that level of realizing that it was no longer serving me to let it go. They all stopped working. They stopped giving me the desired effect. The pain was not going away. I was just feeling worse and worse. And then the light bulb moment, the obvious thing that was so big that I was trying to skirt around forever by like hiding under the blankets, all of a sudden tore those blankets off and showed me that I could no longer look away because it was like being dropped right at the center, at the bottom of a mountain that just completely encompasses your entire viewpoint. Maybe the drugs are the problem. Maybe you can rise up from this and gain strength in letting it all go. I didn't sit on this for a while. I immediately was like, it's got to go. A split-second decision just like that, and just dropped it. I was like, I'm going to face this. I'm going to go through these withdrawals. And I have an entire video coming out where I documented every single day what it was like for those first couple weeks, which were hell, by the way. The only one that I was perfect on abstaining from was kratom. I messed up with alcohol a couple times in the beginning. It's not like what you think. I wasn't just like all of a sudden super powerful and able to drop them all. Like there was some mess ups. And I think that's an accurate representation of what it's like to get off, especially multiple drugs, which is why I'm releasing the video, because I want other people to realize that you can get through it. Even if you mess up a little bit, you can reach the point where your entire mind has been rewired, which is what we're going to move on to next. Before we continue, I need to point out that this video has been graciously sponsored by Surfshark. You guys watching this super taboo stuff about learning how to become better versions of yourself obviously need to worry about your internet provider watching this, because nobody out there wants you to become a better version. They want you stuck in those same habits forever so that you can keep being a consumer. Surfshark is a VPN provider, and what you can do with that is you can make yourself private so your internet provider no longer can see every damn thing you're looking at. So if you're looking up substances, which is probably some of the stuff you guys look at if you watch my channel, you can get Surfshark and you can block that from being seen so you can feel more secure. And another big component that I always talk about is you can change your country and get new shows on Netflix or Disney Plus. I do this all the time because sometimes in my downtime, now that I'm no longer addicted to drugs, I've replaced it with way too much TV. Sometimes I watch too much TV, okay? There I said it. TV has become so much more enjoyable because now my dopamine has been freed up and it's replenished to like abundant amounts, and it's like, oh my God, I forgot how much fun TV can be. So sometimes I go and I change my country using Surfshark so I can get more shows on Netflix, more shows on Disney Plus. And if you use the code PSYCHED, you are going to get 83% off, which unlocks the best price for VPN on the market. And you're going to get 3 extra months. So big thank you to Surfshark. You guys are amazing. If you guys head on over to Surfshark, you also help the channel because the more of you who sign up, the more likely they are to sponsor future videos. Anyway, link to Surfshark below. Use code PSYCHED, and let's get on with the video. You get through the first, 15 days, which are probably the hardest. Then you go through the first month, during which point you're still in the back of your head thinking, yeah, it might be kind of nice to get high. And then you start to feel really good. At least, let's speak for myself. I started to feel really good because I started to feel empowered. Knowing that I had the strength to do something so dramatic just kept adding more power to me. And as I started to feel mentally stronger, it just started to radiate through my entire being. Like I started to walk with more confidence. And let's talk about the mental component that I use. This strength momentum could have easily fizzled out, and I could have easily fallen back down into the thought that all these addicts fall into, which is like, oh, now that I've abstained for a month, I can have a drink once in a while and I'll be able to control myself. This is what happens to so many people, and it is absolutely pivotal that you don't fall into this pitfall, because it's exactly why I can sit here with the confidence that I have today and say I will never fall back on any of those addictions, because I understand myself, and there's never going to be a point where my brain says, oh, now you can have it sometimes. That is the biggest mistake that people have. They start feeling so strong in what they've done, they think that they can now manage themselves. And part of overcoming the addiction is understanding how you work, understanding the mechanics of your unique brain, which is why this is unique to every individual. We're all individual humans. I don't even like saying that I'm an addict. I've been addicted to certain compounds because there's others that I would never get addicted to, even though I kind of enjoy them. I think a lot of it has to do with an ADHD diagnosis where you spend a lot of time self-medicating because you're convinced there's something wrong with you, which brings me to the next point. So you have to fan the flame. You have to keep adding wood to it and build your strength bigger. So one of the big things that I did to keep myself in the process of growth, which is what you need, if you're not progressing, you're regressing, is I started to read. Implementing healthy, empowering habits was absolutely key to my success, to building the mental fortitude to be where I am right now, which is absolute confidence. I will never take kratom again. I will never abuse even coffee again. Like, it's never going to happen. And books like this, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. In a nutshell, this book basically tells you how the subconscious mind dictates all of your habits and your true beliefs, and how the conscious mind is like, say, the captain of the ship, and the subconscious mind is the engine room. The engine room has no idea where they're going. The captain would just say, add more coal and let's get this fire bigger so we can move faster. Boats run on coal? I feel like I'm talking about ancient times right now, but I'm just trying to use an analogy that keeps the fire the fire alive. So bear with me. So the captain could be leading the boat into an iceberg, for all it knows, right? But the engine room, which is your subconscious, isn't responsible for that. It has no decision-making capabilities. That's in the realm of the conscious mind. It simply listens with absolute confidence to the captain. So what that tells you is your subconscious mind believes with absolute certainty everything you consciously tell it. So if you tell your subconscious mind, I have a problem with kratom. I am an addict. It has no choice but to believe you. Even simple things like I'm always late. Consciously telling yourself I'm always late, the subconscious mind blindly believes this, and it will actually, on a very practical level, contribute to you being late, because what you believe, you achieve, you create. Whatever you believe manifests itself in physical form, and we're not talking about some woo-woo shit. We're talking about real science here. Your beliefs create your reality. Your thoughts dictate what you're going to see in the physical world. It's not just telling yourself. You have to tell yourself something, but then the other component is you have to believe it and feel it with your body. So if you're telling yourself all the time, I'm happy, but really you don't believe it and you feel like you're miserable and you're just positive thinking, I'm happy, that doesn't work. The subconscious mind is getting other signals, because keep in mind, words are a human construct and they really hold no intrinsic value. It's all symbols that we're constantly creating in our mind that are all based on humans. Like a tree is not a tree. A tree is, we've attached the symbology of word tree to tree, and now we think we can define it, but we never can. When you're programming the subconscious, it's more than just words, because again, words only hold as much value as you have the symbols to convey them with. So if you're constantly feeling one way but telling yourself a different thing, the body is not stupid. The subconscious knows that, and it's going to keep feeling like shit. So there's certain things you got to do to get the two in line, which I don't know if they are discussed in this book. I actually haven't completed this book. I'm only like a quarter of the way through. I've been reading tons. This is the most recent one, but I could really relate to this one, because what I find a lot of people who are addicted to drugs do is they're always programming themselves day in, day out as identifying with having a problem. And again, you got to feel it. There's so much that goes into this. Like, how do you change a feeling? Oh boy, now we're getting into a video that's going to be hours and hours in length. We're not starting therapy sessions here, but there's so much that goes into this that I can't encapsulate in one video. So we're just going to try to touch briefly on certain concepts. And then if you want to explore them more, maybe future videos, or you got to do that research on your own. But that's a big component of the mental battle, is feeling that you're constantly getting stronger. And one of the best ways to do this is constantly to be in a state of humble learning. I feel like I'm always learning, because I view every person, no matter what their walk of life is, as someone who has something to teach me. Because we can all learn so much from each other. And this is true no matter who you are. Even that one person who speaks in a way you don't like, and who basically embodies everything that you see as wrong in the world, what they're actually showing you is a reflection of what you feel uncomfortable about within yourself. Anytime something pings you and triggers you to react emotionally, it's a reflection of what you don't like in you. We can learn so much from everybody, especially those that we don't like. And that is a huge component to changing our internal dialogue. And that internal dialogue has to change to move out of being, I am helpless and this addiction has all the power over me, to I influence my thoughts. I influence my feelings. My thoughts influence my feelings. And I create my own reality. And who the fuck is I? Who's this I that we're talking about? Does that even exist? Again, going a little too deep for the video. So being in a state of constant growth and learning is paramount to kicking these addictions to the curb. So once you get that mental component in play, now what you got to realize is nature abhors a vacuum. What does this mean? What does nature abhors a vacuum mean? It means that if you take away an addiction that you spend a lot of your time thinking about and doing, and that you attribute a lot of your happiness misdirected to, you got to replace it with something. You can't just spend that time now sitting on the couch doing nothing. I mean, that's actually an activity. That's usually called meditating. So you could, but there has to be intent driven behind that action. Equal or even slightly less, but it has to hold intrinsic value to you as a person. It has to be something that you enjoy. And a lot of the problem that people run into when they're trying to say, let's just talk from experience, kick alcohol, is they're like, okay, so all day I have stress, and then I've got the evening, which is the one time I can relax, and I just need that glass of wine. I need that beer. I need a few shots of vodka to unwind. Again, comes back to subconscious programming. You are, unknowing to you, probably programming yourself to believe. You're consciously programming the subconscious to believe, again, it doesn't know what it's following. It simply follows orders that you need that alcohol to unwind. You can program yourself with new thoughts, which will lead to new feelings. It takes time and understanding, and usually therapy. But now you've got to reprogram an activity that has as much value that you enjoy. And the problem addicts run into is the drug, it has an effect, a desirable effect, even if it's just to cure boredom. You're doing it to cure that boredom. So there's something that you need from it that you don't think you can get any other way. And that's why they stay addicts forever. That's why we stay addicted to drugs forever. We see this drug as like the holy grail of unlocking all these feelings inside us that we don't know how to unlock without it. Don't know yet. See, the key word is yet. Optimistic attitude is what is going to unlock your future and new paths that will lead to new destinations that hold much greater enjoyment, value, and happiness than the current path does. It's a trick. It's really a trick called doing what is immediate gratification, doing what is expedient versus that long-term release versus doing what is meaningful. As Jordan Peterson likes to say, do what is meaningful, not expedient. This takes reprogramming. And what you got to do is if you're replacing, say you're cold turkeying off alcohol in the evenings, you have to replace that time with something else. And it's going to be tough because in the beginning, you're going to be comparing the two. You're going to be like, this is nowhere near as good a release as that alcohol does. And that's why feeling like you're on a path of growth and strength is paramount to doing this effectively and efficiently to the point where it sticks for the rest of your life. You have to feel inside that you're making a choice that is benefiting you and that you are, in the long run, going to feel better, more happy, more joyous, more grateful to be alive. You have to feel like this is something that is going to bring you long-term rewards. Otherwise, the short-term trade-off of feeling shitty for a little while isn't going to be worth it. That long-term reward has to be really good. Like people go to university because the long-term reward is a stable job. You know, shitty tests, studying, all this stuff that they may not like doing for that long-term goal because it holds value to them. So you need a long-term goal that holds value. Otherwise, all of this short-term stuff is going to feel empty, and it's going to be really hard to stick to if you don't have a goal, which is why for me, reaching bottom and then having a goal of, I don't know, on some level proving people wrong, maybe getting the family back, I don't know, having something that you genuinely want and that you have emotional ties to that is reflected in moving through the addiction is, again, a key to success here. And I hate saying stuff like this because some people will be like, well, there's actually nothing that I really want. And that's part of the problem is I don't really want anything and I just want to feel good right now. And I hate to say it, but a lot of those people are going to stay in addictions maybe for the rest of their life. Life is hard, man. I'm not going to sit here and say it's easy. It's a struggle, and the drugs offer immediate release of that, which is why people do it. But there are activities that you can learn and eventually like more that offer greater release. It's hard to see it in the moment that something could offer greater enjoyment than like that relaxation of a drink of beer, but there are. And there are people who live extremely happy lives who don't have any substance addictions. And I am now living proof of what do you want? Bullshit. Spam assholes calling me, ruining my video. I'm living proof of this. I'm not even counting the days anymore. We're over 60. We're over 2 months. I don't know how many days it is exactly. It doesn't matter to me. We're what, 70 days? Something like 70 days clean. It doesn't matter to me because I'm no longer comparing myself or relating as an addict because now I have replaced those addictions with healthy endeavors. I have filled up the vacuum with something positive. And for me, and a lot of people talk about this and you don't want to hear it, exercising, lifting weights. I have a real passion for self-development. It's something that I'm blessed with because I've always had this. Ever since I was little, I loved challenges and growing and getting stronger, be it physically, mentally. I love that whole process. So I've replaced the unhealthy addictions with healthy ones, going and working out and having some form of cardio activity every day. I realized that what I needed to feel safe and secure in life, to actually do this and make it stick, was to implement some long-term routines, which was difficult at first. It's called building a habit. It takes time, dedication, and effort. I needed routines to solidify my growth and to help me stay clean. And one of those routines was daily exercise. I don't go to the gym every day. I think I average about 5 days a week. I would like to go every day. I actually have a harder time taking a rest day. And in the past, this is a crazy comparison because I used to have to force myself to work out, and now I have to force myself to take a rest day. God damn it. But even on the rest days, I do something like I go for a brisk walk. I'm always being active. And being active I think as male and as someone with ADHD, which translates into I am a hunter by nature, we need to stay active. It stimulates our mind in a way that the drugs were only itching at, because what I was ultimately looking for was a challenge. And my life just felt very bleak, and there wasn't anything that I immediately thought I needed to fight for. So I went into just pure relaxation mode, which was like, yeah, let's bring on the substances. I rationalized it as being okay. I rationalized them as helping me. I thought they were helping me focus, but really I was just running away, and I had to come to terms with that. That's the mental piece. So the physical piece is some form of physical exercise. This is shocker to nobody. Nobody is surprised that I just said that. But the results speak for themselves. There's a reason why so many people say if you have a drug addiction, replace it with being active. Being active is something that is so difficult to get into because at first you hate it, but you learn to love the feeling. I could just be unique here. I don't think I am, but I love a challenge. And the challenge of building up my body, like bodybuilding, and pushing through plateaus, that is way more rewarding to me than drinking some green sludge and feeling good for 2 hours. That I can blast through obstacles and goals and feel good every day consistently versus feeling good for 2 hours and having these spikes. This is what the addiction does. It causes these spikes and then drops. And the longer you're in it, the bigger the troughs get. The peaks don't even get bigger. So it's up with big peaks and then little drops. And then the longer you're in the addiction, the peaks get smaller and the drops get bigger. And the peaks get smaller and the drops get bigger. And now your baseline is somewhere around here because you're constantly depleted of dopamine and all those neurotransmitters you need to feel happy, because we're chemical beings when the baseline used to be up here. So over time, you're depleting your brain of all those neurochemicals that it needs for you to have an enjoyable, natural, happy life. So this is what I've done. If you want a summary, I got through the addictions because I reached a place of super pain where I felt like I was at the bottom and there was nowhere to go but up, because any lower meant that I was just going to feel shittier. And I reached a place where staying the same felt shittier than making a change. So I had to reach that point. Then I implemented daily learning, reading every day, growing those mental powers, daily exercise, which was easy for me. And then another piece to the mind component is meditation, which I implemented months later. Because like I said, now I understand myself to such a degree where I would never fall into, I'll just take kratom sometime. No, I'm not going to touch that shit. There are some compounds that I can take safely, this is going to be hurtful for some of you to hear, because you want to hear, oh no, you're an addict, you can never take anything. That's not true. It's not true for me. I would never become addicted to psychedelics. There's only certain compounds that I feel like I want to take all the time. And the key is, once you get off it, just don't touch them. There's never a point where you can just take it sometimes. So part of overcoming it is realizing that in yourself. And maybe there are some super outliers who can do that. I'm not arrogant enough to think that that's me. That's stupid. And a lot of people also, another point of this is they like to say that once you quit something, you enter the pink fluffy cloud. Now you feel so good that you quit, you feel invincible. But they're like, that doesn't last long. Oh no, you gotta temper those good feelings with knowing that you're gonna feel like shit eventually. That's stupid. F those thoughts. I am not in a pink cloud. What I am in is growth, learning. I wouldn't even say I'm in recovery. I am recovered. Again, program your subconscious mind with where you want to be, not with where you used to be, or even where you feel you are now. Always where you want to be. Always. Even if you're not right now, it's not called lying to yourself. What you're doing is planting the seeds of where you want to be, and you got to have the thought to create it. Like if no one had a thought to invent anything, to invent light bulbs, he had to first have that thought of where he wanted to be, and where he wanted to be was having that invention, and then he moved to create it. So you always think of what you want to achieve, where you want to be, and then the rest follows. But what a lot of people do is they're constantly thinking about where they were, which just programs the subconscious mind to keep them there. I am an addict. I was an addict. I was an addict. You're not going to heal with that. And the final step to healing for me was therapy, intensive therapy. Some weeks I have 3 therapy sessions a week. Simmer that down a little bit. That pot's not boiling so hot. And we've moved that down to one a week or one every other week. Usually I have 1 a week, to be honest. No, sometimes I still have 2 a week. That was paramount. I use that word a lot in this video. Paramount. So many things were paramount. There's so many keys to my growth. I just want you to understand. So So that was big, 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 big. And a big piece of that is finding a therapist that you can relate to. Like, that is huge. And that takes time and effort. But if it wasn't for all the pieces hitting bottom, therapy, exercising, growing, meditation, all of these things had to come to create the transformer. All these little pieces have turned me into the ultimate transformer omnipotentron. Now we're just getting silly. Now this video is descending into madness. We got to wrap this shit up, guys. I could freaking talk forever on this. And I'm going to have more videos. I'm going to piss all you guys off with all these videos. And all of you people who are like, he's just rationalizing his growth. He hasn't actually changed. This is all a show. It's all a show to get his family back. He's pretending. He's secretly drinking kratom behind the scenes. I know these videos are going to piss you guys off. But again, I want to make it crystal clear that what worked for me will not work for everybody. And you know what I didn't even touch on in this whole video was the microdosing. How did I forget that? That is something that worked for me, which I have now lessened severely. But in the beginning, recommended by my PhD therapist, this is, I don't want to give you more details on it, but this is a really smart, educated guy who recommended the microdosing. We're not talking about some low level, like, I'm just a drug dealer disguised as a therapist kind of person. Recommended that I microdose, which helped me, I think, moderate my mood. Just go to PubMed and type in microdosing. There's pages and pages of studies that you can read and a lot of anecdotal reports of people taking legitimate microdoses where it actually helped them just feel better and regulate their mood. So that was also big. I'd be lying if I left that out. But again, that worked for me. And some people out there can't do that because they would abuse it. But that wasn't something that I had any issues with. Like, some days I had to force myself to do it because I was like, nervous around it. But anyway, if you have further questions for me, hit me up below. Leave a comment. Smash that like button. If you gained even, I don't know, a few drops worth of value from this, then smash that like button for me. Leave a comment. Subscribe to the damn channel. Hit that subscribe. Hit that bell. Make it clear to me that you want to see more stuff like this, and I will continue to produce this shot for you guys because I am moving into my strength and I want to help society grow. I want to help you guys get better because if I could get better, if I got through this, you can too. Take care, everybody, and I will see you all in the next video.